Welcome back to another episode of Down with the Browns.
Yeah, let's get it, baby. Oh, it is, bro. The Twitter streets, the streets of the Browns fandom, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
And it's back to our regularly scheduled program of number 2 overall. Jesus.
But I don't know if all the listeners realize this, but right now,
special guest, baby.
Former original host of Down with the Browns.
OG, baby.
Who has moved on to a lot greater things. Mac, the Buffalo.
Voice of logic and reason has returned. What's good, Mac?
I appreciate, hyping me up here, KFC. I don't know if bigger and better things is quite accurate, considering that I've been spending the entire month in Twitter jail. Currently still appealing to the courts of the almighty Elon Musk, hoping I can get my account back. But if not, I still have Browns Twitter and the lovely support of all of you.
Thank you so much for stopping by, Mac. It's been lit. I mean, I also love the hoodie too. I missed that.
Oh, I had to. I had to. Smells a little stale. Haven't worn it a little bit, so I caught a whiff of stale hoodie as I was putting it on. Probably been maybe a few years since I pulled it out of the closet, but we're here.
Hey, that's all that matters.
We're here to talk draft.
Let's get it. Yeah. Let's get it. And right off the rip, because we haven't been able to talk about this on the pod. So before we dive into draft really quickly, we got to dive into the obvious, huge news about Myles Garrett. He has requested a trade officially, obviously during Super Bowl Media Week, and he went on Radio Row and talked to Rich Eisen and talked to everybody in those boys. And he had a lot to say, obviously, for the Cleveland Browns, kind of stating things like, I'll do whatever it takes to get traded. I hope that we can resolve things amicably, and also even stated that just the things that he wanted to do in the future did not align with the Cleveland Browns. The front office and Myles did not align on those kinds of things. So I'm interested. Obviously, we have the glooming kind of cloud over the situation, which a lot of teams and a lot of media members want to avoid, but there's a huge dead cap attached to Myles Garrett's name when you're trading him. So my first question to you, Matt, because I want to get you on the airwaves and ask this question: should the Browns take Myles Garrett? And a follow-up would be, what does that package look like? Because we just had some breaking news saying that the Commanders and Eagles would offer a huge package for Myles Garrett. So take it away.
No chance. There's no reason to trade Myles Garrett. Considering the fact that you still have $172 million due to Deshaun Watson, it's kind of hard to eat $14 million in dead cap and trade the best player in the history of your franchise. So let's just start off with that. Now, in terms of a trade package, we're looking at least 3 first-rounders. How do I know that? Because when they asked Andrew Berry, would you even trade Myles Garrett for 2 first-rounders, he said, absolutely not. And they have been firm on not trading Myles Garrett because they know what it's going to do. Because trading Myles Garrett is an instant rebuild. There is no coming back from that. And I hate to tell you, you're not going to get a good trade now. So all those draft picks that you accumulate, that's not going to help you until next year, which means you're going to tank for another year. Looking at the regime of this Browns team, you can call 2021 for what it is, but 2022 was them purposely tanking. They acquired Deshaun Watson. They knew that he was getting suspended 11 games. So they were like, hey, we are looking towards the future. We're going to evaluate talent, look towards the future. Okay, that's fine. 2024 came along. They're fresh off a playoff season. they found out that Deshaun Watson wasn't working before the injury. They still kept playing him. And once the injury happened, they went full tank. So to do that for the third time in 6 years and the second time back-to-back years, it's just not feasible. And to be quite honest with you, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry, they're on the hot seat right now. They are. They flat out are, because they got a giant mulligan with this Watson predicament. Because the fact that and I thought it was funny when Jimmy Haslam said, "Oh, I have no idea, why the Browns were 3-14." I can give you several, but that just tells me, I'm giving you the mulligan. I'm just as surprised as you are that this isn't working out. So therefore, why don't we just give it another year? And the Browns have an opportunity to give Kevin Stefanski one of the first, because Kevin has this checklist of what he's been able to do since since Cleveland. He snapped the home opening streak. We went to the playoffs twice, won a playoff game. That's great and everything. But Kevin still has one, I don't want to call it an excuse, but he's got one in his back pocket. And he's never been able to pick his own QB. And he has that opportunity this year. He does. Because the Browns are looking for a QB. And obviously, who's going to be – now they say, oh, well, we let Andrew Berry determine the roster. No, they're all a collective hive mind of Ivy Leaguers. So, of Kevin Stefanski is going to have to say on who's going to be the starting quarterback. So that's the one thing that he has left going for him. And the only way that I see them coming out alive, after a losing season in 2025, the only way that I see them walking free out of that scenario is that if they find the franchise quarterback and they can say, okay, maybe we lost this year, but we have our franchise quarterback. And that's the most important thing in this league. But if they lose this season and they still don't have their future QB, they're both gone. Jimmy's cleaning house. And it's going to be full-on rebuild.
Do you think he fires DePodesta?
The fact that we have not heard anything on Paul DePodesta is mind-boggling.
Dude, I'm telling you.
His contract is up. His contract is up. We haven't heard anything. We haven't even heard what his role is going to be going forward.
Dude, he 100% had to have either pictures, dirt, insider trading, or just had a good weed plug or something. I don't know what it was, but he had to have something on Jimmy Haslam. There's no way through all these years that dude could just sit up there and just be like, yeah, I don't do anything here. I wish I had that job.
Mm-hmm. It seems like a really nice gig, to be honest with you. KFC, what do you think? Should the Browns trade Myles Garrett?
Heck no, dude. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I get it. You're not happy that we lost last year. But, the defense, honestly, we are not that far away. Like, we have the core pieces you need to be a winning football team. You saw it 2 years ago. We ran it back pretty much with the same exact team, except we had a harder schedule. And then we had two of our stars coming off bad season injuries. Nick Chubb, you worked him in midway through the year. He wasn't looking like the Nick Chubb you thought and remembered from those first 6 years before that. Deshaun Watson, just absolutely horrible. And then we had to throw DTR in there to finish off the tank. I don't think we have as many losses if we finish out the season with Jameis. That's just me, though. DTR, when I saw that he got announced, I was like, yep, we're officially tanking.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, man, that's why I don't trust your analysis on quarterbacks, dude. You were talking so much like, DTR's the next quarterback after Deshaun. You made a T-shirt after this man, and he's horrible. Okay, horrible. That's why I think Shedeur Sanders is the right quarterback call, because you said it's wrong. Your quarterback analysis is worse than saying McDonald's is a 5-star restaurant. Okay, it's worse. It's worse than Kentucky Fried Chicken moving to Texas.
That is true. That is true. That's
okay.
That's actually.
It's worse than. I about went way too far there. I'm gonna just stop while I'm ahead.
Listen, but I went DTR with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I liked him a lot at UCLA. Right, I liked him a lot at UCLA, and I just wanted the opportunity.
It's UCLA,
right? Absolutely. Back then it was the Pac-12. I mean, he was there in college for like 6 years, and I love players that are quarterbacks who were in college for a really long time. But here's the thing. I was wrong about that in the 5th round. I just liked the versatility he brought. I mean, he was jumping over people. He had a live arm, but he doesn't have any one touch on the football. Number one, and number two, I think he's too trigger happy, like your Winstons, like your Flaccos, but except a little less experience on the experience side. Before we move right into this draft, I do want to answer the question quickly. I don't think that we will trade Myles Garrett. I don't think we should because of the dead cap. But if you told me that the dead cap was not going to be what it is, and it was probably going to be like $5 or $6 million, I would have traded Myles Garrett like immediately. I mean, the stuff that he said during Radio Row was insane to me. He completely was like, I'll do whatever it takes to get traded. And the best part about all this, he has zero leverage, zero. He probably has negative leverage, if I could possibly say. No trade clause, 2 years left on his deal. Also could be a franchise tag. You had zero. I will send you to New England. Do you understand me? If I had the opportunity, I would send you to Carolina. Don't you look at me and scoff and say, "Oh, I want to go to Kansas City." Kansas City? Yeah, okay. I'm not sending you to Kansas. I'll send you to St. Louis Rams if I could, but they're not even a football team anymore. So my thing is, I'm looking at the situation and I say, hey, we're going to keep him because of the dead cap, and we're going to keep him from next year. But look, next offseason is a different story. Matt, did you want to say something before we move on to the draft?
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious, and I've been asking this question for quite some time now. But I and we were talking a little bit before we went live here. What the hell did Andrew Berry say to Myles Garrett? Because if you guys remember, HBO Hard Knocks, they interviewed him. They said, we're just a QB away, right? So he has his exit interview with Andrew Berry. He requests the trade to Andrew Berry. They talk about the trade because before it was announced, the Browns knew about this for weeks. It did not shock them at all. They were very much prepared. I want to know what that plan was.
What KFC was?
I know. Go ahead. Finish your point.
Well,
got it.
Well, I'm just kind of sitting here and thinking, did it have anything to do with Deshaun Watson? Did they not shut the door on that yet? It's one of the questions I have. Did they pitch a guy like Kirk Cousins? Because if we're just looking at like on paper in terms of connections, in terms of familiarity, and in terms of guys that can run the system out of free agency, guys that are cheap, on paper, the best fit is Kirk Cousins. Was Kirk Cousins pitched to Myles saying that like, hey, we can win with this guy and then we'll get a free future bridge QB. We're going to pass it too. And we're going to build for the future, but we're going to get a bridge guy that, has been a starter. Was Kirk Cousins part of that pitch? Because I don't think that QB at 2 was the pitch to Myles Garrett. Because if Myles Garrett is smart, which he's a paleontologist, I would like to think that he's an intelligent guy, he would see Jayden Daniels. He would see CJ Stroud. What do those two quarterbacks have in common? Both were deemed reaches at pick number 2. Both were deemed unintelligent as a passer.
Mm-hmm.
Both were deemed, hey, they have all these weapons around them, right? Because CJ Stroud had that NFL wide receiving core. And then look who Jayden Daniels graduated with. Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors. So I don't think the QB at 2 was part of that pitch.
I guarantee.
To see Miles turn like that on the Browns makes me think that and that's the maddening part about this whole thing, because he flipped a switch, and not only did he do that, but he dragged us out on Radio Row, and it wasn't right, and I won't defend him for that.
Yeah, thank you.
No,
it wasn't right. I think we all agree that wasn't right.
Yeah, because it was a giant middle finger. But
I think
what was said.
I think two things. One of the two. So I think either Andrew Berry said, "I don't have a plan, but I have concepts of a plan," or
I can't tell you the full thing or something like that.
No,
honestly, that could be very much a thing. After, did you guys hear what he said to one of the Browns beat reporters today? Hold on, I gotta pull this up.
But while you're pulling that up,
Kids.
But point 2 is, if you remember at the end of Hard Knocks, he had not yet talked to LeBron James. I think LeBron James had convinced him to want to get out of Cleveland. Because who else? I mean, LeBron, arguably the GOAT. I know you're not huge on LeBron, Manny. So, but, he left Cleveland, goes down to Miami, wins 2 championships, comes back. Everybody loves him in Cleveland now because he wins the championship. But I guarantee, because if you think about it, Myles Garrett's 29. How old was LeBron when he left Cleveland?
Younger than that.
28, 27, 28.
28.
But at the same time, I also think, to go along with your point, he probably saw Saquon Barkley and was like, man, oh man, you left the Giants and that offensive line, and you go to Philadelphia and you win a Super Bowl in your first year, and you were basically in the pits of football hell there, and then you go over to Philadelphia and win a Super Bowl. I bet that also kind of convince him as well. But I truly believe that if he said, hey, I want to win now, hey, I want to win now, hey, I want to win now, we're not aligned, and all of a sudden Andrew Berry comes in and says that we're drafting a quarterback at number 2 overall, I don't think that that's win now. Excuse me if I don't think that that's win now. I guarantee you Myles Garrett was like, I'm not sitting here again for some Baker Mayfield, for another quarterback carousel. You either get me someone good, and I'm not sitting here for a rookie quarterback to go in week 4 or sit behind a veteran, and then that's who was going to be, my bridge quarterback, Geno Smith. If I want to win now, if I'm saying win now, how on earth is drafting a quarterback at number 2 overall who is not a Heisman winner like Jaden Daniels, by the way? Jaden Daniels was fantastic at LSU, and that's why he's so successful over there in Washington. And they have a lesser conference in the NFC. It's a cakewalk, but then without a sophomore slump. So we'll see how that works next season. But I'm telling you right now, I don't think that that's what was pitched to Miles. I think what was pitched to Miles was something like a QB at 2, then have a mini bridge, bringing back Winston or bringing in Sam Darnold. And he's like, bro, I don't want any parts of that. And Andrew Berry said, we're not rebuilding. It's a quick retool. And Miles was like, no, you either go get me somebody who can actually do the job or not.
Now, to end this conversation, because I feel like this would be a great ending
segue
before we get to the draft. KSC, go ahead for the viewers at home. Pull up that tweet that I just sent to you, and I will sit here and read it off now. So, Daniel Oifuzi. Apologize if I'm butchering your name here. He's a beat writer for the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
He asked Andrew Berry where the disconnect was with Myles Garrett. Now, stay with me here because Andrew Berry ends up talking in circles. I'd say the big thing that we are aligned on is everyone wants to win. Everyone's frustrated with last year. I think where you have a difference of opinion is the approach that it takes and some of the hard decisions that have to be made as you transition forward. But like I said, our perspective is we're going to do the things to improve the team. And one of the things that is very important is having Myles a part of the organization. Now,
do you think
Andrew Berry just did what he's done his entire regime here in Cleveland, and that's talk in circles and not give you a legitimate answer. It's all vague. There's no real substance here. You didn't get anywhere, right? You're just taking a bunch of left turns, and then boom, you're right back at the starting point. So who isn't to say that Myles is just flat out sick of the organization?
That could be a possibility too. And Keith, we'll get to your comment about Abdul Carter being not a win now move either. But here's the thing. That's a good point. That's a good point. He could be just fed up with the organization itself. I don't know if he's seeing the tea leaves and saying, hey, you know what? I'm sick and tired of this. I don't think we're going to be able to actually win with this. And shout out to Daniel Ofoesi because he's
a dog.
Yeah, he's a dog. I think he's one of I'm sure he's been doing this for a while, but he's
he's new. He's kind of new and up and coming.
Yeah, I was just gonna say for the
intern for TMZ. So this guy has literally been on the ground floor and worked his way up.
And shout out to him for the hard work. So let's get. I mean, Keith, thanks for the comment on YouTube. You open up a can of worms here because we're gonna get right into it. Okay, so what should the Cleveland Browns? In the 2025 NFL draft, they have an opportunity that they haven't had in a while, since 2017. They're drafting high. They have a first-round pick, and they're also drafting high, thanks to the New England Patriots for winning that last game. Joe Milton III is a dog, so appreciate you for that. KFC
and Drew Lock.
Yeah. Pick up the phone and call for Joe Milton. I completely agree, man. So I need to be sold. And along with, I would say it's a dead set split right now for Browns fans. It's this quarterback situation. It's which quarterback should we take? A lot of people are saying Shador's because a lot of us believe that Cam Ward's going to go to the Titans. But what should we do? Quarterback at number 2 or trade down or best player available, trade down, whatever. What should we do? Because we have to have an open dialogue conversation about this because the streets are arguing.
So, Manny, if you look at me and Mac's Twitter, you obviously know how me and Mac feel about this, and
I'm
Twitter as well. So I got a question for you. I'm a
no draft. Are you a drafted quarterback? Are you a drafted quarterback guy for the people who are listening on YouTube?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then Mac, you're a drafted quarterback guy. Okay, I'm not a draft.
So I got a question for you, Manny.
Voice of logic and reason.
Voice of logic and reason.
So since you don't want a quarterback,
yes.
Okay, and you've been on the big Kirko Cousins coming to Cleveland train. Okay, all right. So, you went Abdul Carter. What does that pick make? Like, where does that put the Browns at next year?
It'd put them in the same position as if they were to draft a quarterback. They would be a 4, depending on who your quarterback is, unless you bring in a vet to start all 17 games. In my way. You would be 4 and 13 if you just draft a quarterback, or you could be in my situation where you have your minimum 8 wins. If you're bringing a veteran quarterback. So now you're screwing up next year's draft.
To get a quarterback, you're going to be picking anywhere from 8 or 15 to in the 20s, somewhere in there, and your elite quarterbacks are not going to make it that far. So you're going to be picking secondhand stuff.
And if you do it my way and you trade down to the New York Giants for the number 3 overall pick, or you trade down to the Las Vegas Raiders for the number 6 overall pick, both of those teams, when they come up and get Cam Ward or get Shador Sanders, next year they're going to be bad. And guess what? You're going to have their first round pick because they are going to have to give you next year 2026's first round pick. And if you do it my way, not only will you have their pick next year, but you'll have your own, and you can couple that and trade up. And if you want to move on from Myles Garrett because the dead cap is going to be cut in half next year, then you do it. So that's if the quarterback that you get doesn't pan out, or the quarterback that you also have in the second round isn't very good, which I believe the quarterback in the second round you're going to get are your Will Howards, your Quinn Ewers. I'm not saying Dylan Gabriel because he's short and left-handed, but I'm not even going to say Jalen Milroe. But if you do it my way, you'll also have a pick in the 2026 first round. So I need another question. Mac, what do you got for me?
Well, here's the thing. Are we even sure that Abdul Carter's generational?
Exactly.
Even Abdul,
he just had
there's no guarantee that he is generational.
Sure.
Because he's not a better prospect than JJ Watt. He's not a better prospect than Jadeveon Clowney.
Sure.
And then the next question is, where are you going to put him? This is a 4-3 defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened to Ogbo Okoronkwo, who's a starter on most teams. He's not out there on the field on first down. So you're telling me that you're going to draft, because let's be honest here about Abdul Carter. He is listed in the Penn State directory, listed at 6'3", 250, which means more than likely when he comes into the combine, which I think it's very funny, very, very funny, that he's not participating in any kind of drills due to shoulder injury. I wonder if he's going to get his measurements.
I think he'll get a measurement.
Because I don't think that he's 6'3", 250. And that's beside the point. He's a outside linebacker.
Andrew Berry was asked today if he's too small, and he said no.
linebacker.
Yeah. Tony Grossi asked him that question today, and he said emphatically no. Quick answer, and then it said next question. So Andrew Berry doesn't believe that he's too small to play edge, but you can continue.
Okay, but let's ask, again, Andrew Berry is the same guy that got Obo Okoronkwo, who, again, you can't
Fair.
You can't line up a guy that's 6'3", not 250, as a 5 technique defensive lineman. Now, as a 5 technique, you are right here on a tackle. Okay? Here. You're outside shade of the offensive tackle. Now everybody's going to sit here and say, well, what about Micah Parsons? What about Nolan Smith? What about all those smaller guys that are rushing the passer? You know where those guys are? You know where Obo Okoronkwo is on third down? He's in the wide 9. Okay? He's way off that line of scrimmage. Why? To give him momentum to rush the passer. That's not a running down kind of defense, because you're going to get gashed up through the middle. Now, Manny, I don't have an exact stat on this, but how many times have you seen a 3rd and long where the Browns get caught too far upfield and the defense runs underneath?
A few times.
How many times have you seen that?
A few times.
And why is that? Because they're spread out rushing the passer. You can't do that every play. So my point is that Abdul Carter is not going to be that guy that's going to be able to line up in the 5 technique every single down. Now, let's get to the point that defensive end isn't even a need for this team. Everybody forgets that Alex Wright took a monstrous jump in his 2nd year and was ready for a Pro Bowl year before a triceps did. Everyone forgets about the diamond in the rough, Isaiah McGuire, who had as many forced fumbles this year as Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm. And even if, but here's my argument.
And Isaiah McGuire didn't even start all year.
Here's
why are we drafting a guy that's not a good fit?
Yeah.
A guy that's not in a position of need. A guy that's not even guaranteed to be generational at number 2. That's the guy that's moving us off of QB. It's not a great wide receiver to help this struggling offense. It's not a tight end that can block like a left tackle and go catch passes like a wide receiver. It's not a Saquon Barkley type of running back. This isn't a free safety that can cover 55 yards in 2 seconds. You know what I mean? This is a defensive end that's not a great fit. He's not generational, and he's not improving the offense that was dead last in the NFL. How's Abdul Carter going to help score touchdowns?
What we've seen talking about the offense.
It doesn't matter what defensive talent you have.
Right.
If your offense is 32nd in the NFL in third down percentage, you want to know why the defense was so bad? Because they were puffing as if they had because they were constantly on the field.
It doesn't matter, to be honest with you.
So we need to help out the offense. Now, if you want to sit here and you say, okay, I'm not sold on QB.
What are you going to say?
Who?
Did it freeze? Listen, here's the thing. So,
I did. I was waiting for you. Sorry.
Oh, God. No,
so he's having a staring contest.
First and foremost, a couple of things. Number one, outside of quarterback, one of the most important positions on a football field right now in today's NFL is edge. That's number one. Number two, when you're going through this entire draft, there's only two players that everybody says interchangeably is the best player overall in this entire draft. And it's either Travis Hunter or it's Abdul Carter. I'm not necessarily saying that you have to take Abdul Carter. I want Abdul Carter because I'm talking about the versatility and the speed and the first step in the movement. I don't even care where you put him. Same thing with TJ Watt on the Steelers. Even if he's a 3-4 guy, you put him on the Browns, he'll do just fine because you'll find a place for TJ Watt and he's going to make a play. And people keep talking about the whole, oh, he's not generational. We don't know. But he's the best player in this draft. And it's going to be one of the reasons why the Tennessee Titans, who actually need a quarterback, are going to pass up on our precious quarterbacks and take Abdul Carter. And you're going to find that out on April 24th at 7:35. Now, secondly, I know what we're talking about the we need this, we need a tight end. I could see you passing it up on a wide receiver or whatever. That shows you how shaky the Cleveland Browns front office feels about these quarterbacks. It's the teams like the Giants, it's the teams like the Raiders, and people ask the question, well, if why are Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, right, good enough for the Giants and the Raiders, but they're not good enough for the Cleveland Browns or the Tennessee Titans? Well, the reason is because if you put the Raiders and the Giants in the first and second overall spot, they're going to kind of look at this and say, hey, you know what? We're seeing some of the potential offers that we could possibly get. And if I'm the Tennessee Titans, I have the number 2 yards per game defense in the NFL. And I'm saying, hey, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to take my shot at quarterback this year. I think we're not a quarterback away. So I'm not going to just waste my number 1 overall pick on a quarterback. So I'm going to potentially just get Travis Hunter, or I'm going to get Abdul Carter, or I'm going to field some offers and trade down. But I'm pretty sure they're going to take Abdul Carter.
So you're talking about how the Titans need a quarterback, but they're talking about taking a defensive player. I want you to go back over the last 4 years. Hold up. No. Listen. I want you to go back and look over the last 4 years at the Titans. They have not made any smart decisions over the last 4 years. They had an elite offense. They were a quarterback away with that offense. Then they trade A.J. Brown away. Mm-hmm. They let Tannehill go. I mean, Tannehill was starting to get washed. And then they let Derrick Henry walk. And then they fire Mike Vrabel.
Well, that's because he was saying in the Patriots honor Ring of Honor ceremony that you gotta, Patriots fans, you gotta be very careful. You don't know how good you have it. And then the president of the Titans were like, "What?" Because
he was getting micromanaged on everything.
Absolutely, and
absolutely. So this organization is more dysfunctional than ours. Right. They're horrible, and you're saying they're the smart ones for passing on a quarterback?
No,
it sounds like more dysfunction to me.
What I'm telling you is, if they're in a position, right? If they're in a position to potentially draft a quarterback, we're not the only ones that are saying this. It is widely known that overall, just how good are you at your position? Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders aren't in the top 10 in this draft. Overall. Just people's big boards. I've seen a big board for Mel Kiper have Cam Ward as low as 40. I mean, Shedeur Sanders as low as 40.
So right now is not the time. Like, okay, a lot of these draft guys like Mel Kiper goes on there and spews about anybody. He's just on ESPN because he's been around ESPN for so long. Half the time his draft board's wrong. Okay, and then. I can't even come up with words how I feel about Mel Kiper because he's half the time he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'll be honest.
I agree.
But like right now, okay, the combine's not happening. We really don't know what's going on the inside of these places. Like the last time I can really remember, there's been like 2 instances I know where the teams actually came out in public and announced who they're taking number 1. It was the Colts in 2012 with Andrew Luck. And pretty much the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2021 with Trevor Lawrence. So you really knew who was going there. But now it's like, it's this, that, whatever. Like, we really don't know what's on them draft boards right now. Plus, the combine's coming up. Pro days haven't happened yet. Like, they're still learning about these guys. And, why would you? I mean, I hate to bring up character issues, but like Abdul Carter, literally, there was a charge on him not too long ago. That's not really.
He punched there was a repo man that was coming to put a boot on his car, and he punched him in the face. I would have done the same thing if he tried to put a boot on my car. And he was a freshman at Penn State.
Why aren't you paying your parking tickets, Big Dog?
Exactly.
Like you know what I mean? Like let's not make it look like it was something crazy. Like it was, he punched the repo man in the face. And sometimes I'm saying, listen, if the repo man trying to put a boot on your car,
I'm just saying.
I'm not. We're not promoting violence.
Do we need more people like? Because we're already getting enough crap from other fan bases when we go other places. Like we got a certain quarterback on here that already makes the morale horrible. Okay,
and the only thing, you know what, I'll give credit where credit is due. You know what I do like about Shedeur Sanders? One thing I do like about Shedeur, and I'm not even going to talk about Cam Ward because unfortunately, even if he goes to the Titans, you know, we're going to be left with Shedeur Sanders, which is crazy to me to think that even in a bad quarterback draft, we're going to be taking the second best thing, which whatever. Shedeur Sanders, first and foremost. For me, when people talk about the accuracy, people talk about the ability to read defenses and all this other stuff. When you're throwing checkdowns, of course your accuracy, your percentage is going to be really good.
Oh, just checkdowns? Just checkdowns? Are you sure?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Sure.
Even Cam Ward pointed it out. And I had a Colorado. I worked with somebody who went to the University of Colorado. That's what happens. You throwing it to Jimmy Horn Jr., you're throwing it to Travis Hunter, and then you get a scat for either 1 yard or it's going to be 30 yards. And so we'll talk about that. But I'll tell you something right now. What I like about Shedeur Sanders, being in the spotlight your entire life prepares you for Cleveland media, life under the microscope. I like that. Because he's cool under pressure. He was cool at Jackson State. He was cool at Colorado. I like that about Shedeur Sanders. I appreciate that about Shedeur Sanders. But that's the number one thing that comes off the board. But I'm telling you right now, I saw him finally play one good defense at Nebraska, and all of a sudden he doesn't know how to play quarterback. One good defense. And all of a sudden people are like, Shedeur Sanders he's so cool. It was the offensive line. One good defense who finally gave him pressure. And guess what? We barely have. I'm not confident about our offensive line. I know you're confident about our offensive line, Mac. And guess what? I'm not confident about wide receivers, the position that I love. I'm not very confident at a wide receiver. And then they're saying once you pick your quarterback at number 2, now I got to use pick 33, 67, and 94 to figure out running back, wide receiver, potentially edge. Don't talk to me about Mike Green because he's having off the field issues. So now you're going to have to get Shamar Stewart, who's only had 2 sacks in his whole collegiate career. Come on, guys. At least trade down to number 3 with me. If Travis Hunter
down, right?
Yes.
You want to trade down?
I would be perfectly fine with trading down. If Travis Hunter went number 1 overall to the Tennessee Titans, I'd be perfectly fine with trading down to number 3 with the Giants, so the Giants can get Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. Fine.
I love this.
And then give me 34 and give me 34 and 65 from the New York Giants, and then I'm moving. Fine, you could have 3.
Okay. Manny, let me ask you this. When was the last 2 times the Browns were in the top 10 and traded down? I'll give you the first one, 2016.
And traded. What position were they at?
2.
And there in 2016, they were at number 2, and they had Carson Wentz, who was an MVP, leading his team to the Super Bowl before an unfortunate leg injury. They traded down and selected wide receiver to fill a need by the name of Corey Coleman. He was cut in his second season.
This is completely.
That's a completely
different situation.
2011, they had the number 4 pick. They had Julio Jones on the board, a Hall of Fame wide receiver, and they said, Nah, we need to retool this roster. We need to gather more picks. So they trade down for Jabal Sheard and Phil Taylor. And God bless those men. I really do enjoy Phil Taylor. He's one of my favorite Browns. You know, he's not Julio Jones, and neither is Jabal Sheard.
Listen,
if we want to sit here and talk about checkdowns, Manny, are you aware that Shedeur Sanders was 3rd in all of college football for completions over 20 yards? Are you aware?
Here's the field. Here's the field.
I would not be
breakdown.
surprised because you're throwing to Travis Hunter, who's the most athletic person in college football, and you're playing in the Big 12 versus Iowa State. Yeah, I would imagine you have deep completion percentage. Are you kidding me? Versus Texas Tech? Is that what you're showing me? Is that what? Yes, I would hope so. With his decent accuracy and throwing the wide open balls when Travis Hunter has 4 yards of separation.
Josh Allen.
Baker Mayfield won the
Jalen
Heisman.
Hurts was in the Big 12.
Listen, that was Big 12 was when
Brock
Oklahoma,
Purdy
when Oklahoma,
was-
hold back, Mac, when Oklahoma and Texas were there, when Oklahoma and Texas were there, was Oklahoma and Texas there last year?
He actually threw the ball. I think he still had 68% completion percentage, 27 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions last year while they were still in. Before Texas made the switch.
Listen, fine. 2 games. Show me the stats from those 2 games with NFL defenses. We don't have time to do it now. I know we don't have time to do it now. But
we do.
I want to see the stats between last year when he was playing Texas and when he was playing Oklahoma before they went to the SEC. Because I'm looking right now this year when he played Nebraska. He's having trouble, Mac, with Nebraska, the Cornhuskers, Mac. Do you know about Nebraska?
Okay, so here's last year's.
Is Tua better than Jalen Hurts? Is Tua better than Jalen Hurts?
Okay, so if you look right here, on these quarterback, it says 129.5 rating on the outside left of 20 yards or deeper, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception, 112 center, 20 yards or more, and then on the other side, 3 touchdowns, 121.5.
Better throwing 20+ yards downfield than he was 10+ yards.
Is this first Texas and Oklahoma?
This is last year. This is 2023.
No. I want to see those games specifically because you were still playing Kansas State Jayhawks. I mean, the Kansas State Wildcats and the Kansas Jayhawks. I don't want to see that. I want to see versus Texas specifically because we keep having these conversations about Shedeur Sanders really good. And I have the thing the moment you play good teams, the moment you're not going to have that opportunity to have 4 yards of separation, and you're not going to be thrown at Travis Hunter. You're going to be thrown at Jerry Jeudy and Elijah Moore and Cedric Tillman. Okay,
Jerry Jeudy had one of the best seasons as Browns wide receiver ever last year.
Listen, first and foremost,
do not disrespect our boy.
Let me take that
back.
He's not even a possession receiver, and he had the most catches out of any Browns wide receiver in history.
Well, by the way, let's be real. We're all Browns fans here, Mac, and I know you're a football guy, and so I'll explain it to you this way. When you have Jameis Winston willing to throw the ball extremely deep during games, of course, your first game back, you're going to have 40 over 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, right? So it's going to go to somewhere. And when you don't have Safari Cooper running crazy routes and dropping the ball every 5 seconds, send him to Buffalo to go waste away because he did absolutely nothing on the Bills, you see what happens. Other players flourish. Somebody's got to catch the ball when you're throwing the ball 400 yards a game. And that just happens to be Jerry Jeudy. This is nothing against him. And Jerry Jeudy, guess what? Had a great game. Jerry Jeudy had a great game, mind you. Guess who it was against? His rival. So I'm just throwing it out there that Jerry Jeudy might all of a sudden have a little bit of testosterone. For last year, Pat Surtain the second.
And who's he play for?
Okay. The Denver Broncos. I see what you're trying to say.
No, dude, he cooked him.
He did. But at the same time, guess who potentially knows Pat Surtain? Jerry Jeudy. He might know some weaknesses. And again, nothing.
That's still defensive player of the year.
Right. But nothing fuels a man more than revenge. And I'm telling you right now that
Joey Porter Jr. in the snow when he couldn't even see the football.
That's true. That's true. But again, we need the elements.
Is Marlon Humphrey not a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, Manny?
Marlon Humphrey?
Yeah. Is he not a top 10 corner in the NFL?
Top 15. I'll go top 15. I'll go top 15. But it was in the snow, Mac. It was in the elements.
Let's not say here and say, oh well, Shedeur Sanders had Travis Hunter. He's getting Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is way better of a route runner than Travis Hunter. And here's the crazy thing about Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is not the reason why he is so high is because he is the best weapon in college football. Notice how I didn't say best wide receiver.
Yes, I agree. I agree about that because that's a point that a lot of people want to bring out, and they're like, "Oh, Travis Hunter should be drafted this high." Listen, is he elite? Is he top 2 at either of his positions in college football? Is he the best corner in college football? Is he the best corner in college football? What do you think?
Debatable.
I'd say he's top 2.
I would say
Will Johnson's better, but I mean, he's still top 2.
But that's what I'm saying. You're not top. You're not the best at any position that you specifically play. I'm not saying you're bad. I'm not, because that's not a knock at all. Because to play 2 positions and be top 10 in them, it's pretty impressive. But all I'm saying is it gives me cause to pause because you're not the best at either. What am I drafting you to do? Andrew Berry's one of the only GMs right now that Tony Grossi reported on that he wants Travis Hunter to potentially play wide receiver.
So 2023, so they started the year off versus ranked number 17 TCU. They beat them 45-42. He had 510 yards, 4 touchdown passes, completion percentage of 80.9%, was sacked 4 times.
How TCU do that year?
Let's see. TCU 2023. I know this year they didn't do too hot, but let's see.
I wasn't sure if it was then. I think it was 2022. They were.
It was they had a.
Oh, you know what?
What's that?
The Colorado Buffaloes didn't even play in the Big 12 in 2023. They played in the Pac-12. Of course. I forgot about that. I forgot. You know what's crazy? I just forgot about the fact that they played Oregon, one of the best teams in college football that year. You want to know Shedeur Sanders' stats that game? Shedeur Sanders was 23 for 33, 160 yards passing and 1 touchdown.
You're leaving off a big thing too. Also, he was sacked 7 times.
Listen. Look.
I wouldn't bring up the Pac-12 if we're gonna sit here and talk conferences, considering the fact that Caleb Williams was 7-5 as a starting quarterback.
And you know who they played the next? Do you know who they played against the next week? USC, who had Caleb Williams, and they lost 48-41. Shedeur Sanders was 30 for 45, 371 yards, 4 touchdown passes, 1 interception, and had a rating of 160.
So USC, the year Caleb Williams was there, notoriously had one of the worst defenses that USC has ever seen. And Colorado scored 41 points versus them. I can't. You can't possibly. But then the week.
Manny, my point is that we're in like and I do want to say again, thank you guys for letting me come back on the show here.
Of course,
I really do appreciate giving me a little bit of airtime. But Manny, the longer that we sit here and we talk, the longer that we're poking holes. You had a solid piece of Gouda that's now looking like Swiss, because you sat here and you're talking about check down Charlie. When Shedeur Sanders not only had the tied for third most completions, 20+ yards, he also was tied 7th for most attempts.
When Travis Hunter has 6 yards of separation, that'll happen.
And not only that, but he was also tied for 4th in completion percentage, over 20+ yards. So the metrics saying I would love to see. It's not right.
Right. No, I would love to see. I'm talking more so about why his completion percentage was so high. Was because
I just showed you.
He threw. Yeah, right. But he threw a lot of screen passes at Colorado in number 2.
What college doesn't throw screen passes?
But he threw.
They had no run game.
Right. But Mac, you're proving to me why he threw so many. That's why I'm saying he had the highest completion percentage in college football history, which, by the way, when you look at that list, you're talking about Colt Brennan, R.I.P., Colt McCoy, and Graham Harrell from Texas Tech. And number two, I would love to see Travis Hunter, if he had the most receptions or where he is on the list beyond 20 yards, because I guarantee you right now, when you have a cheat code such as Travis Hunter, of course you're going to have a lot of completions downfield. That's my point.
Okay, you ready to see it? All right. So I pulled up the receiving stats. So actually, Travis Hunter had 96 receptions, 1,258 yards. His longest reception was 58 yards. He had 15 touchdowns. So LeJohntay Wester had 74
Short
receptions.
guy, by the way.
Almost 1,000 yards.
Potential Cleveland Brown late.
So you were talking about how Travis Hunter and Jimmy Horn were the ones that were always taking all these deep balls. So Jimmy Horn only had 37 receptions, 441 yards, had one that was almost 70 yards. He had four guys over 400 yards. I see a bunch of long receptions on here, man. Just a bunch.
Again, that is proving my point. Of course you're going to have long receptions when you're playing a weak Big 12 and you're playing Iowa State and you have one of the best athletes in college football having 6 yards of separation. It's easy when you're doing that. Guess what's harder in the NFL? When you have, instead of 6 yards, 4 yards, 3 yards, you have 1 yard of separation. You have an arm length. A little less than an arm length of separation.
Did you
have you saw any of the deep balls though? How he's squeezing them in there.
Absolutely.
He's threading the needle, and that's just he's in college. Imagine what he can do when he gets to the NFL. NFL coaches start working with him.
Listen. Those DBs who are much more athletic than the ones that are at Kansas, the DBs that are going to be way more athletic in the AFC North, they're hard-hitting safeties. The AFC North, that's a gauntlet that he's going to have to play 6 times a year. I don't know if you're going to be able to do what you've been doing at Colorado. I'm sorry. And if you do, you better have that offensive line ready to go instead of the old man that you have at guard right now. You got to have some answers for me.
So you did say that like the completion percentage list is not impressive, right? You did say that?
I did.
I just want to make sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just say, what have you ever heard the phrase, "What have you done for me lately?" Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Whitney Houston, very good song.
Okay, so let's just take the 2024 season. Shedeur Sanders, 74% completion. Let's look at the top 10 all time for completion percentage in a season. We got Bo Nix at 77%.
No. Don't do season, do career, because that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders is. That's what
he's talking about last year, just year.
I'm talking about single season completion percentage.
Why? I'm curious. Why aren't you doing the career one? Because he also leads the NCAA in career completion percentage. Because is there something different with that list?
When you look at single season, number one, you're going with what have you done for me lately? You're going with relevant data, right? You're going with what have you seen last?
Okay.
Because the most relevant tape is the most recent tape, right?
Okay. Single season isn't really necessarily recent, though. But
I mean,
it's Bo Nix's last year.
Top of the list is Bo Nix.
Oh no. I'm saying
to say that you wouldn't want Bo Nix.
True.
And then you have Mac Jones, which say what you want about him, but he went to a playoff game. That's more than we could say last year. You have Colt McCoy, which, he would have been great if he could throw more than, 20 yards at a time.
I like this list.
Number 4 is Joe Burrow.
I do remember Joe Burrow being on that list. That's the only one that I was like.
This is why you can't do career, because this is college. Some guys are only playing for 2 years at a time.
That's true.
You have Kellen Moore, Shedeur Sanders at number 6, Will Rogers at 7, Dante Culpepper.
Vikings legend throwing it. Oh my gosh, bro.
Okay.
So, and one thing on all these quarterbacks, well, most of them that you named.
Taylor, Burrow.
So.
Good friend.
Thank you, Taylor. Thank you.
Joe, exactly. Do you know how he zoomed through those last names? Like the only person impressive on that list was literally Joe Burrow. And let me see some sophomore film on Bo Nix.
You wouldn't want Bo Nix on this team.
But
You wouldn't know Bo
how
Nix.
much of that? How much of that is Bo Nix, or how much of that is Sean Payton?
So if I go,
Can I say the question?
If I go on your Twitter
Can I say
right
the
now,
question?
I go on your Twitter right now. Am I going
Can I
to
say
find
the
something that says, "Hey, Shedeur Sanders would be drafted under Bo Nix if he was in this draft class"? Would I find something like that on your Twitter?
No, wait.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
and
listen,
one point that all these guys had,
there was 3 out of 10 names: Joe Burrow, Bo Nix, and Dante Culpepper. Dante Culpepper. Those are the 3 out of 10 you just named. Will Rogers, Colt McCoy, Kellen Moore from Boise State.
But listen. And to the point of that as well, all these other guys had these really elite wide receivers with them as well.
But
That's my point. Other than Travis Hunter, who does Shedeur Sanders have? You wouldn't even know who Jimmy Horn is, bro. You wouldn't know who any of these receivers are.
Absolutely, but I understand your point. But that's my point. When your completion percentage is that high, you're throwing to. Not only are you throwing to screen passes, right? But you're also throwing to guys who are separate, who have separation.
I just told you that he was top 10 pushing the ball downfield.
But to that point, I'm saying, of course he is, because Travis Hunter, who's on the cover of NCAA Football 2025, was open with 5 yards of separation, man. That's what I'm trying to tell you. But when I'm looking at this list, which you just proved to me, that there's only one Heisman winner on that list, and that's Joe Burrow, who is extremely. But listen, this is not as much as I can't stand Jose Burrow. You guys know how I respect that man, right? And so I'm jealous because when I look at the Cincinnati Bengals, when they needed a quarterback and they needed a quarterback badly, they looked at their draft and said, hey, we have options of Joe Burrow. We have options of Justin Herbert. And guess who we have? We don't have a Heisman winner. We barely have a Heisman finalist in our draft.
Okay, let's go back. Whoa. Let's just go back. That LSU team was so stacked, dude. Don't act like it was just Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's obviously a great quarterback.
Joe Burrow, Taylor, don't quote us. Don't quote us.
No, hold up. Let me talk.
He has the 2 best wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Jay Jetta.
Fair.
Jamar Chase.
Fair, but Joe Burrow is a problem.
The defense. Go look at the defense. That team lost pretty much
what conference is that? What conference?
The SEC. But Joe Burrow's 24 years old playing against college kids.
Conference. That's a good conference. Joe Burrow showed me something with the Heisman.
Tua fresh off a hip surgery.
Tua is good. The left-handed assassin. He's good at Miami.
I'm not disrespecting Joe Burrow. I'm just saying, bro. But here's the thing: it's like that LSU team was so stacked.
Listen. This is a horrible argument when we're using Burrow, right? Because Burrow's a dog, though. Burrow's a dog. You want to show me something? Show me Kellen Moore. Show me Dante Culpepper.
Okay.
Joe Burrow being on that list doesn't
Hold up.
Listen, I like Dante Culpepper. I'm not going to no Dante Culpepper too much slander. I like Dante Culpepper. Okay, I like those. Go ahead, KFC. What are you
okay, I'm just going to pull up the Joe Burrow stats at LSU the year before.
And you're going to compare. You're going to compare them to Shedeur?
Joe Burrow was like 25 playing quarterback, dude. Like he had an extra year.
And you want to know another thing? Bro.
He was an old prospect. He was an old prospect.
And he transferred before the transfer portal.
And Mac, I think that you're so. You know what, Mac? You're really smart.
No, okay.
You want to know why? Because Mac did a good thing. He did not say career stats, and now I know why he didn't say career stats. Because although Shedeur Sanders leads it, because you're going to have to bring in that Jackson State nonsense when you have the number 1 player, an athlete, and D1 playing at Jackson State wide receiver.
Okay, listen here. Okay, so Joe Burrow the year before, okay, he had a 57.8 completion percentage, 2,894 yards, 16 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, played 13 games. Oh wow. So at the age that we're taking Shedeur Sanders, who is proving all that, compared to Joe Burrow's stats at the same age. Could you say that same thing?
No, what is that? What is that? What does that have to do with what I'm trying to say?
I'm just saying.
Shedeur Sanders.
If you've been in a college program for 4 years, you're going to be more developed than a guy that's been only in college for 3.
True. Okay, fine, fair. But what I'm trying to say to you,
that was a knock on Burrow, that he came out old and that he had a high floor but a low ceiling.
But what I'm trying to say to you is, I am
and
jealous.
What do they say the same thing about Sanders?
What do you say?
They say the same thing about Sanders. Is that his floor is high, but the ceiling's right here. They said the same thing about Burrow.
Burrow. But here's the problem with Burrow. No, here's the problem with Shedeur. When I'm looking at Burrow, when I'm looking at Cincinnati, there's not in that draft. You could not tell me nothing. I don't want Chase Young. I don't want anybody in that draft. I'm getting my quarterback. He's a Heisman winning quarterback, fresh off a national championship, had the little Superman little hair coming down on his face and was smoking a cigar. I'm taking Joe Burrow. The problem with us, it's unfortunate because as Browns fans, the year that we are finally in striking distance to get a quarterback, we're picking from the dollar store clearance section. Because those two quarterbacks, if they would have just done the smart thing and came out last year, they were too scared to come out last year. I wonder why.
Yeah, but they said the same thing about Jaden Daniels, and they said the same thing about C.J. Stroud.
Jaden Daniels is a Heisman-winning quarterback, and don't even.
So is Johnny Manziel.
But look, okay. See, that's nasty. That's disrespectful.
We can go on and on with it. Tim Tebow was a Heisman-winning quarterback.
Listen,
okay,
but there was clear. I'm not using Heisman as a prerequisite. Right, but I'm looking at these.
Sounds like it.
But here's the thing.
You're basing that. You're like, but Jaden Daniels was that. But he was the Heisman.
Caleb Williams and Taylor said who said Burrow's ceiling was low. I don't think that's what he said. I think he said the ceiling was. I think I'll let you explain that, Matt. But what I'm trying to tell you is this: Caleb Williams was looked at. Do you remember when Caleb Williams was coming out of USC? They said that he was Patrick Mahomes, mini Patrick Mahomes. The only knock on him was that he was crying with his mama and he painted his fingernails. Those were the only knocks on Caleb Williams.
And he was running out of the pocket a lot. He was actually a better prospect out of Oklahoma than he was USC.
True. But either Oklahoma or USC was generational because it was a breaking news when he went from Oklahoma to USC to follow Lincoln Riley, right?
But he's not a bad quarterback. But the Bears are horrible.
Listen.
Coaching.
All right. What I will say.
Ben Johnson's going to have that man top 10, guarantee it this year.
Listen, right. Caleb Williams, though, would you take Caleb Williams on the Browns right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he's not. I'm not saying, right. So, along we're on the same page, I'm not saying Caleb Williams is bad. But what I'm saying is last year you had your choice between Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, and then you even throw in a sprinkle a little Drake May, you sprinkle in a little bit of Michael Penix and Bo Nix, and J.J. McCarthy. That was 6 quarterbacks in the top 12. Guess who wouldn't even fathom 3 in the top 12 this year? It's unfortunate. And it's known, and take aside, this is no knock against Shedeur Sanders. This is no knock against Cam Ward. Think how you want to think. But all I'm saying is it's unfortunate. Would we agree? I would love to be number 2 in last year's draft, wouldn't we? But unfortunately, that's not the reality of the situation.
That's in hindsight. That's in hindsight. You're
right.
But let me ask you this. Do you remember the G2 test? Do you remember the G2 test?
No. What is
the
this?
2023 draft.
This remind me what that was.
Was a brand new test that they rolled out for prospects. That it was like the new age of the Wonderlic, right? It was to test reflexes, intelligence, all the 9 yards. C.J. Stroud not only scored in the single digits, he scored dangerously close to 0.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember that.
And
I do remember that.
Prospect to where they said, okay, well, he had trouble beating Michigan. Okay, well, he had Marvin Harrison Jr., Chris Olave, Emmanuel Abuka, Garrett Wilson. He had all these guys. He ran a very kind of like easy offense, right? The Texans were stupid for not trading out.
I don't think anybody. But I don't think that anybody thought the Texans were.
They don't need. Here's the beauty of getting a good quarterback, because everybody thinks, oh, we need to find the next Patrick Mahomes. I hate to tell you, you're not.
Yeah, I agree.
You're not going to find the next Patrick Mahomes.
I agree.
But what you can find is a top 15 quarterback, and if you find that top 15 quarterback, you can win in this league. And that's what they need Shedeur Sanders to be. That's what they need.
I don't think Shedeur Sanders is that.
Agency. And here's what makes this whole conversation irrelevant, and part of my argument's irrelevant. If they don't find a top 15 quarterback this year, then Jimmy Haslam's cleaning house.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree.
Kirk Cousins is not that top 15 quarterback.
I would argue. I have a caveat. I would argue.
Don't bring up the injury, because I have literally something.
No. I won't bring up the injury. But I mean, I would love to. Nothing would make me happier than to bring up the injury, but I'm not going to. What I will say, if the Cleveland Browns do draft Will Howard, or draft a God forbid, Jalen Milroe or a Quinn Ewers or a Riley Leonard, right? Absolutely. No, I agree. But here's what I'm trying to say to you: because Taylor, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, if they brought in a free agent quarterback, are they going to win us a Super Bowl? Probably not. But I will say this: what would not get the division? I want to win the division too. Absolutely. But if the floor right now, if you bring in a free agent quarterback and you trade down, or you draft Abdul Carter or Mason Graham number 2 overall, whatever the case may be, and your draft picks pan out or pretty decent or whatever, and you finish the season 9-7, if you show flashes, if you finish 8-9, and I think,
do you make or miss the playoffs?
Let's make it. You say you missed the playoffs. Say you missed the playoffs, right? No, I'm sorry, 9-6, not or no, wait, I can't do math. 10-7. Yeah, or if you finish 9-8 and you miss the playoffs, or you finish 7-10 and you miss the playoffs, but the defense looks pretty good. Your quarterback play is the same quarterback play you kind of saw Kirk Cousins esque in Atlanta, or Geno Smith in Seattle, or whatever, right? It's middle of the road, but your draft picks are panning out. Your Abdul Carters, your Omarion Hamptons, your Harold Fannons, if you want to go there, your Josh Connerly Juniors are kind of panning out. If you want to get Cam Skibido deep or whatever the case may be, I don't think everybody's fired. I don't, because what that shows you, because if you trade down, that means next season you have somebody else's first combined with yours, whether it be the Giants first, or the Raiders first, and you combine that, and you're 7-10, and you say, hey, now I'm a quarterback away, now I can strike. I don't think everybody's fired, Mac. Do you think everybody's fired?
Now, but if you're 7-10 and those quarterbacks you passed on hit.
Oh yeah. Okay. I agree with you.
So
I agree. If Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward are good, I'll delete my Twitter. I can't show my face.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing that not like everybody's getting. It's like, okay, so we'll solve quarterback next year. Well, it's confirmed Arch Manning isn't coming out. Mm-hmm. So yeah. What does that leave? What does that leave us? Are we just going to pray that Drew Allard suddenly gains great decision-making? Because he won't be ready to start right away. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that playoff game. I was extremely high on Drew Allard because I saw the big frame, the big arm. He had a little bit of swagger to him. And then he absolutely crapped the bed against Notre Dame.
Yeah, I will say Notre Dame's defense. I'm not trying to cape for Drew Allard at all. I think it's hard because a lot of these quarterbacks might just need 1 year. One more season of 12, 13 games might really make the difference. Another offseason, another going through progressions, another going through the playbook, another ability to gain how to read defenses and go through your progressions during the play might help. Obviously, there's no
season helps, right?
What is that?
So you say another season would help, right?
For the college quarterbacks, yeah. I'm saying like Drew Allard this season upcoming. Who knows if they're going to be better, or Noah Fafita from Arizona, or Nico from Tennessee. Those guys might come out and they might be pretty good. You might see them this season. You might fall in love with one of those quarterbacks. And I'm telling you right now, I personally think next year, even without Arch Manning, I think next year's quarterback class is going to be a little bit more fruitful than this one.
I think personally we like to, when we talk about quarterbacks, we like to live with rose-colored glasses, and we have the same conversations every year. You know, they're the last time a generational quarterback came out.
Last year,
it was Andrew Luck. It was Andrew Luck. He was the only can't miss. You absolutely have to draft him. There's not a single week.
There's like three that you skipped over.
No, that's not what. No, like who actually lived up to the hype is what he's saying.
Oh, that's hard. That's hard to say because Caleb Williams was the guy that just was there, and you give Caleb Williams some coaching staffs. Give Caleb one now. So now we'll see. But I don't even want to go all the way back to Andrew Luck, talk about their NFL career. I mean, he retired early. I don't even want to talk like.
But that's what I'm saying. We have the same conversation every year when it comes to these quarterbacks, to where we have such unbelievably high expectations, and we don't think that this guy could be a possible Super Bowl, contender. So we want to trade down. Mm-hmm. Well, the reality is, again, there is one opportunity that would move them off this pick.
Yeah.
Taylor, get out of here. Okay, first he did Snoop Huntley, and now he's doing Jake Brown in his pants Browning. Okay, get out of here. Get out of here.
Washington
and done. But anyway, there's only one player that can move them off this second pick, and you could say, okay, we have a bona fide starter that can start seven. This dude's crazy. That can start 17 games and legitimately lead us to the playoffs, and that's Matthew Stafford. Now, you would have to absolutely finagle the guy. We're talking about, we would have to, and limited restructures, which, by the way, think about it. There is a possibility where they could extend Myles Garrett. They could make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the league, right? Structure his deal to where they would backload the crap out of it, right? And they'd be paying next to nothing for this year while grabbing Matthew Stafford. But that is the only quarterback in this situation to where you can grab him for 17 games and you can say confidently, he can lead us to the playoffs. So it's not, and I hate to have the mentality of you have to pick a quarterback, because I understand the whole
best
player available. I understand, because there are other holes in this roster. There, as much as we want to say quarterback away, they're not truly a quarterback away. But when you have the quarterback solved, rest of it just kind of falls into place. So, in closing here, their jobs depend on hitting this draft.
100%.
And you know what I mean? That I just think that the best route, because you know what I mean? If they, let's just say hypothetically, they go with Kirk Cousins, they draft Will Howard, in the second or third, which I won't even get into the whole anxiety of like, where's these QBs going to fall? Because what not a lot of people realize, and it's very hard because we're not NFL GMs, we're not in the war room. We can pull up the mock draft and we can say, oh, if it doesn't fall the way I like, we can just refresh and we'll start again. Quarterbacks will always be overdrafted. They will be overdrafted until the end of time because they are the most important position.
Absolutely.
If you're and here's my thing too. If you prefer a quarterback over the other, that's fine. If Andrew Berry and all them get together and they say, we like Jackson Dartmoor, we like Will Howard more, that's fine. When are you gonna grab him? Because there is a strong possibility that there is because look what the Denver Broncos did last year with Bo Nix. People thought Bo Nix was going to slide, and I bet you that there were several teams, rubbing their hands together for a J.J. McCarthy, for a Bo Nix, for a Michael Penix, and they're saying, "Oh, well, what happens if he's going to fall to me?" So now, now you're not reaching on a quarterback at number 2, but you're reaching on a quarterback that you evaluated as a second rounder, because you have to now get him. Because here's the reality. The reality is they have to hit on the quarterback this year. Because if they don't hit on the quarterback and they don't go to the playoffs, it's done. It's cleaning house. Jimmy's had enough Jimmy's seen, he's seen Tomlin take trash quarterback after trash quarterback to a winning season and or the playoffs.
It's not they're not completely done, because if they don't hit on a quarterback, like you could, I think your situation you're saying also free agent quarterback as well. If they don't get somebody in free, okay.
Yeah,
like a Matt Stafford or something like that.
Because here's the thing too, how do we know that Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers or Geno Smith is going to pick us over other teams?
That's true.
Because I hate to look at that. I hate to look at that kind of negative, pessimistic.
But you have to. You have to. You have to,
because these are guys that are living in Cleveland that have been around the building, that are big Browns fans. So who's to say that Kirk, a guy that's been playing indoors his entire career, wants to come out and play in the cold in Cleveland?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's 37. He's now coming off of 2 injury-riddled seasons.
He might. I mean, if he's traded, I don't think he has a choice. But to your point, yeah, I understand your point with Aaron Rodgers.
Does Aaron Rodgers want to come here? With the Ivy League trust, is he going to fit in with that regime?
Mm-mm. He was a character issue in the Giants.
Yeah, exactly. He was a locker room cancer in the Jets building. You know what I mean? And then you have Geno Smith, and it's just like there's no guarantee that we're going to find our guy in free agency, and even if we do, the ceiling is so unbelievably low. And I don't. The only 2 ways I see this regime coming out clean is if they make the playoffs, and or if they find their quarterback. And you know what I mean? And it's and trust me, the whole trading down, getting picks, filling out the roster the best you can, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But when the offense can't stay on the field because they don't have a quarterback,
you won't be the ones picking those picks with that trade asset for 2026, because you'll be gone.
And if you swing and miss, you can at least say, hey, we tried. We finally
would they be fired? Would they be fired if they drafted? My last question, and then we'll close. But would they be fired if they drafted Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders and then they don't pan out, and you still go 4 and they start all 17 games, which I don't think is likely. If you draft a quarterback at number 2, you'll start a veteran. It'll be that Baker Mayfield 2018 all over again with somebody like Tyrod Taylor or something being in there. But
for a couple games,
for a couple of games. But are they fired if they start off 0-2 and then they put in Shedeur?
Absolutely.
And then what I mean.
We're sitting here with a 2-time Coach of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
We've been sitting here and preaching for months that the wide zone offense, which, by the way, I need to say, the wide zone offense is a damn good offense. That's the reason why, Sean McVay has been successful running it. There's the reason why the Shanahans were successful running it. There's a reason why, Mike McDaniels is successful running it. It's an easy offense to run, and it gives a lot of cheat codes for the quarterback. It makes their job a lot easier. It makes the, offensive line's job a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But we sat here and we said, okay, 2-time Coach of the Year. He can rally these guys, right? He's got a good playbook. He won, when he was in his back, when he was running his scheme, he was winning games with DTR, which, by the way, we saw how DTR finished the season. Not to kick a guy while he's down, but I went to that Browns Dolphins game.
They needed
terrible.
That front office needed to give a shot at DTR, because it was killed 2 birds, 1 stone. 1, you get to see what you actually have in DTR for a couple of games, and number 2, if he stinks, then we still are technically tanking without tanking, because we're seeing we can mask it as saying seeing what he's got, and so
exactly. So it's just like you won with DTR, you won with PJ Walker. You even saw what they were doing with Deshaun Watson. Looked like he was on his way to almost playing kind of how he was, certainly not in 2020, but how he was playing in Houston. You know what I mean? So here's my thing. Here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you trust Kevin Stefanski to deliver another winning season and another playoff?
To be honest with you,
do you? Because if you do, you got to give him this quarterback, and you got to see it. Because and I understand. I get the fear, because if they miss and we have another bad season and they clean house, we're all going to be sitting around and we're going to say, "Ah, damn." I know that there hasn't been a lot of great coaches from '99, but Kevin Stefanski is the clear best one. And say what you want about Andrew Berry, but he's been the longest tenured GM, and he has hit on a few things.
But for me, it's not
the road. But he was still the best GM that's been here in Cleveland.
But for me, though, it's not about fear, because I've heard that a couple of times. And Andrew Lima on 92.3 of the Fan, he said that he's like, people are fearful. I'm not fearful. What I have a problem with is if somebody says, take a quarterback because you have to. Like Adam Schefter put out today a tweet, and people were going all over the place. Oh, that's so right. No, I don't want to take a quarterback because I have to. You don't do that in the NFL.
But don't you want to truly find out about Kevin Stefanski?
Yes, in a way. But here's the way I really find out about Kevin Stefanski. And this is the way that I will be Manny Maxwell myself. I will be okay with taking a quarterback in this instance, is if Kevin Stefanski says, I like such and such. If I like Cam Ward, go get Cam Ward. If I like Shedeur Sanders, go get Shedeur Sanders, because that means, one, you like him. Two, that, and you're not just getting him just to get him, right? That's number one. That calms me down. And number two, to answer your question, I want to find out what Stefanski has with a quarterback that he likes. So if he likes Shedeur Sanders, and you're not just drafting Shedeur Sanders just because, then get Shedeur Sanders. I'll shut my mouth. The problem is I'm fighting tooth and nail and I will be for the next 2 months until April 24th, because I'm hearing people who want Shedeur Sanders or want Cam Ward, not you, because you're not one of those people, which I'm thankful for. But some people are saying, get Cam Ward, get Shedeur Sanders, or just get any kind of quarterback at number 2 just because we need one. No, leave that to Adam Schefter, who's not a Browns fan, who's a national media member, who doesn't pay attention to the Browns, who doesn't care about Browns fans, and he, quite frankly, he hates the Browns because of what they did with bringing in Deshaun Watson. So I don't care. I don't care what he has to say. All those people who are saying that, I don't even listen to them. But as we close, I want to make one statement, because first and foremost, if you're not following Mac the Buffalo, please follow his new Twitter account, THA_Buffalo, spelled BUFFALO. That's his new Twitter account.
Also on Instagram and TikTok.
Also on Instagram and TikTok?
Oh yeah.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Okay. I didn't know what that. I thought you said live stream. I was like, oh, live stream. What the heck is live stream? Make sure you follow Mac again on his new accounts. Get his numbers up. He almost had like 10K, 11K followers. That's number one. Number two, and the last thing I'll say, what makes this such a great conversation? One, it's great to be back in the first round again, to be drafting first round picks. And number two, it is hard to draft a quarterback. The two best quarterbacks in the past 2 decades who won all those Super Bowls, Pat Mahomes was 10, and Tom Brady, we all know where Tom Brady was drafted. It's hard to draft a quarterback, one that's going to bring you to the Super Bowl all the time. And like Max said, you're not going to be able to. You got to draft you got to draft the top 15 quarterback. And if the Browns believe that they're there, then absolutely. Then I think that they should take their shot. But Mac, thank you so much for stopping by once again. It's been a pleasure to have you here. If you're not following, like and subscribe on YouTube. Please follow us on Twitter at _DWTB. Follow us also on Instagram, not Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, at Down with the Browns. It's a pleasure, and we're going to be back with some more episodes talking about rounds 2 through 3, and then maybe 4 and 5, and of course 6 and 7. Combines this week as well. Pay attention. Most important date is Saturday, where there's quarterbacks and running backs, to see some of the running backs that we have to replace Nick Chubb, which we'll talk about that as well next episode. So, guys, thank you so much, and as always, go Browns.